All right. Jumping into this real quick. Kevin McNicholas, school social worker in Gillespie, and so happy to have everybody here today. Got an excellent group of presenters here today. I'm going to start with Arielle Bozarth. She's going to be talking about Jane's House, which is a fantastic project. Very excited about that. Um, Arielle, we'll let you get started. I just made you co-host, so I will watch the waiting room as people come in and take it away. It's all you.
Thanks so much, Kevin, for inviting me to talk with everybody that's here about Jane's House. It's something that is very near and dear to me, has given a lot of the pain and struggles in my life, my mother's, my sister's, my whole family, just gives a lot of it purpose. Um, so basically, we're a very new nonprofit. We had our first meeting, unofficial board meeting, a little over a year ago, and we filed for our 501(c)(3) late December, and we're granted that in January. We started fundraising in February. When it comes to the fundraising, we're really just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. We only do sober events. We do a lot of online things, but essentially our goal is to have a sober living home for women in recovery from substance use disorders. We would love this to be kind of a midterm home. And what I mean by that is being able to stay for up to 2 years. Um, we just really want to come alongside the women where they're at, meet them where they're at, and bring the resources in that they need. So our home is not, will not be like an Oxford house. It's not, it won't be democratically run. There will be a house manager. The residents are required to meet with the house manager weekly or biweekly, kind of go through a checklist of items that they should be working on. But one of the biggest things that we're excited about with Jane's House is we intend to bring mandatory workshops into the house, and mandatory in that the women have to attend unless they're at work or have an appointment or something like that. But bring in subject matter experts on a variety of things. Anything from education, financial literacy, budgeting, red flags in intimate relationships, mental health, codependency, coping mechanisms, computer skills, crafting, parenting, cooking, just everything. I think the damage that's done during active addiction is underestimated by quite a few people. Or if you have a woman who started using drugs at a very young age, like my sister, she was about 12 when she started using, and she didn't lose those skills, but she never had them. And she didn't have a mother who taught them to her either, because she was also an addict. And so there are a lot of skills that we have that we take for granted because we had someone to teach them to us. But a lot of these women come in and they didn't have that role model, and they really just don't know how to do things. So our intention is to bring these workshops into the house. Organizations like yours, like Mental Health First Aid, to teach them what they need to know about all of these various things. The other thing that we're really excited about doing is really coming alongside the women that are mothers and helping them navigate whatever that looks like. So if they're a mother who has lost rights to their child or given away rights to their child, help them cope with that decision or consequence. If they're pregnant, start teaching them immediately, parenting, being a mother, all those things. If they do still have rights to their child, provide or facilitate family therapy, family counseling, coming together and helping the child to understand why the mother did what the mother did, help the mother to understand why the child is so angry with her, um, and really just facilitate healing in those, because when that doesn't happen, that cycle continues. Not always, and I'm proof of that, but a lot of times it does. So, just to be, fully transparent, my feeling is that addiction had like a generational chokehold on my family. My grandmother was an addict. My mother was an addict. All of my mother's brothers, which I think there was five of them, they all struggled with substance use disorders, alcohol, crack cocaine, meth, all of the things. My mom's drugs of choice were alcohol, crack cocaine, and benzos. And she did those while she was in a home with me and my sisters. My sister kind of got the brunt of that because she had a different dad. And I got to escape on the weekends to my dad's house where it was much more functional. But if you're a child that lives in that full time, it's really hard to see that there is a way out of that. And unfortunately for my sister, she didn't see that there was a way out of it and she fell right into it. So she struggled with still struggles with it. She is sober, thankfully. Um, but she had to leave here to get sober, get and stay sober. So she got arrested and was sent to a 1 year inpatient detox and treatment center in Moorhead, Kentucky. Um, she then unwillingly, I think, kind of transferred into a sober living, and sober living has been what kept her sober. Um, it's not something that we have enough of around here. And there are several Oxford houses. Most of them are for men, and none of them concentrate on breaking generational cycles of addiction that I'm aware of. If there is one out there, I would love to know about it because I would love to pick their brain and how they do what they do. But to my knowledge, what we're trying to do at this capacity um, does not exist. And I believe if we give a space to the women to heal for 2 years, come alongside them, meet them where they're at, give them the tools for their tool belt, they're going to be so much more likely to be successful long term. Um, and we'll hopefully turn around and, volunteer with our organization and other organizations that are doing similar things. Um, you know, I try not to live in the past because it's a very difficult place for me to be. But it is very sad for me to think that had these resources that we're trying to develop now existed back then, my mother's life, my sister's life, and my life could look a lot different, a whole lot different. Um, it took me a long time and the death of my mother to understand that it's not a choice. Um, Substance use disorders, it's absolutely a disease. My mother was not a bad person. She didn't have a cold heart. She had mental health disorders, issues that weren't treated. If I had to guess, she was probably bipolar, um, suffered from extreme depression. She was a victim of domestic violence and sexual violence, and she was doing it all by herself. There was nobody that was coming alongside of her to say, hey, let's change this, let's make a difference. And not only was she doing it by herself, she was trying to be a parent while she was doing that, which is, I have 2 kids, and being a parent without domestic violence and sexual trauma in my life is still hard. So I can't imagine trying to be my mom and parent me or my sister, but me specifically. I was such an angry kid. I was very mad at her, and I had every right to be mad at her. But what we needed was somebody to intervene, somebody that validated my feelings, and somebody that taught or showed my mom how to explain to a child that she was sick and that, she wasn't choosing to, ruin her daughter's life. And um, if my mom was the only one that struggled like that, Jane's house wouldn't need to exist, but she's certainly not. And I see it. She lived in East Alton at the time, which is kind of how Kevin connected with Jane's house because he actually remembers some of the things that happened back then, which I'm really grateful for today. But when I look back at the people and the families that I knew from that time period, there was a kid named Justin that lived across the street, and his mom was an addict. His mom has since overdosed. He's been in and out of prison for years. Both of his sisters also struggle with substance use disorders. So, it's such a generational problem, and we have to intervene and we have to recognize that there is a better way. And we can't just sit back and wait for things to get better on their own because they're just not going to. Um, so I feel like that was kind of a lot of information, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Um, I do not have a degree in human services or social work or anything like that. I'm a dental hygienist. I'm going to work right after this. Um, but I have a lot of lived experience, a lot of compassion, and I'm really looking forward to helping the little Ariels and the Janes of the world because they need it. They so need it. Aside from Jane's House, myself with Jane's House, Sacred Spaces of Care, and Rise Recovery, we are working on putting together a sober events planning committee to host various sober events around the county. I live in Macoupin County. Rise Recovery is also in Macoupin County, and then Sacred Spaces is in Madison County. So we're working to have affordable events that might also act as kind of mini fundraisers for our organizations, but just to give people a place to have sober fun. I think we're working on like a sober Super Bowl party. Um, just various things where people in recovery, that's when they tend to relapse, is when everybody's busy, but everybody's busy doing something else that involves alcohol. And so that's very new. We have a meeting, our first meeting tomorrow, but I just thought you guys might like to know about that too. And thank you for all the work that you guys do in the community. I had the pleasure of sitting next to your resource table at the NAMI walk last Saturday, and I do not remember his name and I apologize, but what we had in common is it was hot and we were both roasting in the sun on Saturday at the NAMI walk. So I love what you guys do, and thanks again for having me.
Um, Arielle, thank you so much for that. That's this, friends, is the power of what people can do with the trauma that they've been handed. I always love the phrase, the two most important days of your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. And when a person finds out why and takes what they've lived and takes their experience and brings that to improve the quality of life, not only for those who are here, but for those who will come. I loved what you said, Arielle, about the little Ariels of the world and the Janes, because there's, unfortunately, you talked about your neighborhood in East Alton, and I remember very well. It is very, very generational in that and a lot of areas, really. Um, I know there's several people on here who are active both in the recovery community and also active in both Macoupin and Madison, as well as in Jersey County. So if people want to jump on here, Arielle, I'll share your info and your website as well. Oh, you're getting all kinds of chats. How awesome is that?
Woohoo!
Um,
I don't want to see them, but
should be down at the bottom. I was gonna say, Jennifer West, thank you, Arielle, for sharing your story. What a powerful testimony you have indeed. You give so much hope to so many lives. I appreciate you and all the help, all that you're doing to help others. Thank you, Jennifer. Rita Robertson. Thank you, Arielle. Super cool. Um, so to our members, any questions, thoughts, feedback for Arielle?
Sorry, I was trying to use this as a touch screen. Arielle, so are you referral basis or how do, and you might have covered that in the beginning. Sorry, I came in very last minute, but is it referral from like resource programs or like therapists like Steve and I, like can we refer or reach out to you? How does that work?
so we don't have a facility yet. We're very new. That's what we're fundraising towards. I think, moving forward, once we have our facility established, we'll be willing to take patients really from any avenue. A lot of treatment centers, or not treatment centers, but a lot of sober livings have a 30-day like sobriety requirement. We don't intend to have that. You do need to be clean of drugs, as in like be able to pass a drug screening. Um, I think most of our referrals will come from word of mouth. And yeah, I mean, we'll absolutely accept referrals. What I didn't touch on when I was talking is kind of that it's a dip your toe in experience to like real living. So it's not free. You do need to pay rent, but we're not going to kick you out if you don't pay. That's, not why we have you there to make money. But also living free is not an accurate picture of what real life is. And we also intend to give a portion of that back to you upon successful discharge from our home. As long as you're leaving because you're ready to leave and not because you were, kicked out or failed a drug test or anything like that, to help them move forward. So a lot of, kind of what you're saying about referrals from therapists and things like that, that sounds amazing to me. We just don't have all of that worked out yet since we don't actually have a facility.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for your question.
Ariel, Rita asks in the chat, your location, you just answered that you're working towards that. Any furniture items that you need?
Oh, we will definitely have needs when we have a facility. I've received a couple donations, but I haven't been able to justify paying for a storage unit yet because that takes away from our fundraising. So my attic is plumb full of the donations that I've received so far. So I kind of had to cut it off. But we will definitely, put the word out there when we're ready for donations like that, for sure, when we have somewhere to keep them.
And just off the top of my head, Ariel, I'm thinking of Got Faith in Jersey County. I know they would be a really good agency to partner with too, because they've got a lot of that stuff that comes through their facility as well.
Yeah.
Again, all for the future. Awesome. Any further questions or thoughts for Ariel? Thank you for being here. Welcome to Mental Health First Responders, and we will be in touch. We will be around because this is a project that we absolutely desperately need in our community, in our area for sure. So Ariel, thank you not only for sharing your story, but also for your great work. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. And I wish I could stay, but I have to go to work. So
that's allowed. That's allowed.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And definitely feel free to reach out through, social media or our website or anything like that. I'm happy to talk. Would love to have coffee with anybody who, community minded like me. So thanks so much for having me, guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye now. Thank you. All right. Our next presenter is Steve and Kate. Steve White and Kate Green, both. Well, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi,
Welcome, friends. Thank you both for being here. And I made you co-host as well.
Perfect. My name's Steve White. I'm a school social worker in Jerseyville and also a private practice therapist at Koen Counseling.
And I'm Kate Green. I was a school counselor last year at JCMS, ignore Steve's dirty looks. And now I am full-time at Koen as a therapist.
And we were just going to kind of come on here to talk today about the links between community counseling and school counseling services, which is kind of a fun thing to talk about just because it's like, to us, or to me at least, the school counseling is kind of the first line of support. Like we see the kids every day, we're in the building, we notice when the grades are slipping, we have a little more access to some of the indicators that might be something that like say, hey, this kid needs a little more support or whatnot. To the point where then we can kind of step up with quick interventions and coping strategies and help support the teachers while they're in the classroom. But the reality is with school counseling, it's usually short-term and kind of limited with what we can do. I have a really huge case list that I kind of work between grades. And sometimes I tell the kids, and which are always like, you forgot to get me. And I'm like, I didn't forget to get you. I just have a lot of people on my caseload. So I'm like, if I'm seeing you at least once every 2 weeks, that's kind of regular therapy in a school for the most part. So a lot of my 5th, 6th, 7th graders don't understand that. And they just think I'm just, hiding from them in my office or something a lot of times. But I usually try to say that's not the case. That's one of the biggest glaring things I would say is one of the differences between community versus school counseling is just the limited access and resources that we can kind of provide. Because when we're doing school counseling, our biggest goal is how is this hurting them academically? So there can always be outside sources and stuff like that, such as divorce and family drama and stuff like that. They can kind of come into a school, but if it's not really personally affecting the academics or kind of their psyche while they're at school, that's when we kind of refer out to community counseling and stuff like that. Which, like I said, it's great to be the first line of defense and almost like an intake session where we're like, tell us what's going on, kind of give us some where you're at with everything. And then we get a chance to, once we hit the deeper waters of like, hey, we kind of got you straight at school where you're getting the grades up and we're coming to class and everything. And then that's when we make the referrals out to the community portion of it. So that's kind of my spiel with it. I'm sure Kate has more as well.
Yeah, and I would say like last year was great because I came from a school district in Troy, Lincoln County, where I worked, and we had multiple supports in place there where I feel like our community is growing in that direction. We're just not there yet because it's hard in a rural community. But I will say for Jerseyville, just growing up here and then coming back last year, it's awesome to see like restoratives thriving, Cohen's thriving. We have other places in Alton that are really doing a wonderful job as well. But I will say just that open relationship of making sure, when we see a kiddo, we have parents completing that release of information. So that way we can have that, relationship with the school, because something I feel like in private practice, and I'm sure Steve would agree too, is like we have to tell parents too, like the school in a sense is raising your kiddo, so when they are telling you these things, like please listen to them, please bring that information into session. So that way, as private practice therapists, we can support, the at-home portion, but then also get back to the school and just have that collaborative relationship, which I will say, just this year so far, not being in a school setting, but having that relationship from the outside now. Calhoun's done a wonderful job of really honoring those release of informations and just having conversations with me and trying to get as much help as they can, because where people look at Jersey County and they think, oh my gosh, we don't have a lot to offer. I mean, look at Calhoun County, they're right there. And it's hard because they're not far away, but in a sense they really are. So I'm just thankful that Koen, and again, I can't speak on restorative's behalf, but I know plenty of people love them. Just knowing that we do have that resource close to them, but that it is kind of like a mental health desert over there in a sense.
Yeah, that's where the rural area gets a little tricky, because it seems like, and when we do referrals out to the school, we have a whole list that has all the agencies. We don't just, filter them to Cohen, even if we'd like to, but we have a list of everybody that's kind of in our area, because unlike, I'm sure restorative too, we have kind of a large wait list right now. So we're not trying to just hoard people and do stuff like that. Like, we're honestly here to try to get as much help as we can out to the community, just because there are such limited resources in our area. To kind of further that link between the community and school counseling, I got like a little example I thought of that we could kind of tell that will hopefully make it, or it might just be like a really weird story I give you guys. But a few years ago, there was a 10-year-old boy, we'll call him Marcus. Marcus was constantly getting into fights at recess, blowing up in class when things didn't go his way. I was able to kind of work with him throughout during the day, teaching him, some coping strategies such as breathing, counting, just trying to get the intrusive thoughts out of his mind or the impulsivity to kind of calm down a bit. And just giving him a a safe place to kind of cool down. If you work in a school, a lot of times we're just kind of a holding area, so they can kind of calm down, and then we can get to the root of the problems or what's going on. But a lot of my time, I'm watching someone cry for the first 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm like, this is fine. Here's a tissue. You're good. But with that being said, we set up kind of some plans to kind of help him out, little interventions, I guess, like even checking in before recess, or just kind of set him up for success. Because if you work in a school, unstructured times are kind of our hardest times when we see behaviors and stuff like that. But it wasn't enough as far as what was going on in school, because there was bigger issues happening at home. Parents were going through a divorce, and Marcus was carrying all the stress with him to the school. So at that point, it's kind of when it was time to say, hey, here's our Jersey County resource list, which our hospital did a great job of making a whole little card that scans in the website, where we can actually get all of our resources that we have in Jersey community. But we made a call to the parent and kind of referred as like, hey, there's some deeper things going on. I'll work with them at the school as much as I can, but it just becomes a little bit trickier when there's deeper waters running a little bit with that. So that was where, I was able to set them up, work with the parents, helping them navigate where to kind of go and get that. And then when he gets into the community side of it, it was nice, because then it's like, now we can offer even more support on a consistent level, where you can set him up with weekly sessions where he's getting that hour of his full time. That was a thing we didn't really touch on. A lot of my sessions at school, if you're getting 15 minutes out of me, that's a pretty good session, just because it's like we're bang, 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 trying to just get through, and like, okay, we're going to bandage this, and we're going to get you back into class, and we're going to kind of do that, which isn't the way I normally like to operate, but with our limited time and everything, it's kind of what we do. We're just kind of triaging and putting out the biggest fire, then running to the next fire type of deal. But with this Marcus student, it was nice to see, to kind of like do the handoff essentially. And that's why where I work here now, I know the people I'm handing off to. Miss Green left me at the school, unfortunately, but now I'm more than confident of handing some over if there's like something, or if she had a relationship with that student. Actually, it's always good because it's like, hey, you know, Miss Green now works over at Cohen because she left the school. And it kind of makes it a nice little transition for that too. Or like I said, I know we were pretty slammed as far as our wait list, so we do restore out to restorative and some of the other places in our area too, as well. But that's kind of one of those big things that like shows that link. And just in rural areas, like Kate said, we really have to try to rely on all the resources we have, as we're just very limited. And Jerseyville's fortunate to have a couple counseling agencies where, you know, Calhoun and Carrollton and some of those other places a little bit further north of us, we're the closest civilization type of deal for them besides going up to Jacksonville. So it really does help. And I think the relationship me and Kate made when we work together and everything really helps just to benefit, because we are so open to kind of working together and being like, hey, what's your treatment plan? That way I can hit on some of the same things if we're seeing it at the school as well, and just working a collaborative effort. And again, I'm sure with restorative and everything else, we've had great connections with that too in our area.
And I would say that's like the biggest thing too. Again, just the relationship piece too. And kind of giving parents like that advocacy and that information of just telling them like, you can ask the school these questions, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, any pushback from the district in any way, but parents just don't know. They don't know what to ask, how to ask, when to ask it. And so that's really awesome, like having people like Steve in the school, because he's like, hey, I'm going to advocate for you in this way here. This is who you're going to reach out to outside of school. And then when it all comes together, and again, it takes time, but it's really awesome to watch families really connect everything and realize like, okay, they're not working against me. They are trying to help me. Because that was always my biggest thing, you know, working with families and they're like, I just feel like nobody's listening to my kid. And I'm like, I promise you we are. Like, there's just a lot of them. So we're all trying our best, but that's why we really lean on outside, you know, community supports, and just know, like, we tell families, like, it's okay to ask questions. Like, we want you to seek help. And I will say, like, it's really cool coming back to where you grow up and seeing people like they've grown and changed, and they're like, oh, you know, I went to therapy, or oh, in school I had this school counselor, I had this school social worker. Like, it's just really neat to see that growth there, which I hope continues to happen.
And really, it's just about making a team aspect of it too, because a lot of times if there's, you know, divorce or struggle going on in the family, it kind of falls upon one parent to kind of navigate that. And it's nice to have, you feel like you're a part of a team as far as working towards a goal type of deal. So that's where, you know, the school counseling versus in with the community counseling kind of collaboration really does a great thing. So I would say, as a anything, I think our part of our job is just strengthening that bridge and making sure that school know what resources are out there, and the community providers understand what's happening day to day in the classroom, and just making us kind of work together as a team, just to support the kids so we don't have anybody falling through the cracks.
Thank you both so much. I knew you were both kind of uniquely situated to be able to talk about that because both of you have and do work both places. Um, Steve, your description, I think, is very spot on. If we get 15 minutes, gosh darn it, we're doing really good. And it is, I do feel like in school, it is very much triage in a lot of respects, just because I would love to have, you know, 45 minutes to sit down with somebody and really talk through everything, but 15 minutes every other week. And I tell parents that going into it, and you had kind of alluded to this too, talking to parents about what we could do. It's just, I tell parents going into it, we're going to do twice a month, and that's about the best that I'm going to be able to offer at the moment. Would love to tell you it would be different, but um, and I think it's you two also had alluded to the relationship. I think that's a big part of it too. Having relationships with the students, with the families, and then with our agencies in town. Because again, coming from Jerseyville but working in Gillespie, we have Maple Street here in town, the public health department. That's about all. Our next closest is either, you know, Carlinville, Springfield, or Litchfield. You know, we don't have a ton in our area, and I mean everybody's got huge waiting lists. I know you guys do at Cone, and I think people come to the school as kind of their first line. So to be able to have those partnerships is absolutely fabulous. Um, Thank you both so much. Questions or reflections for Kate and Steve?
Hey, I have a question.
Yes, Lori, what's up?
So I had a parent tell me that they called Koen Counseling, and I don't think this parent's telling the truth, but she said, oh, well, they don't take students that are under 7 years old.
Oh, not true.
Not sure.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Some clients that are, in first grade. So I think that's under the 7-year-old cutoff.
Well, and I can say
Right.
right now, I have 3 kids under 5 that I'm seeing. So
Okay.
There might
Okay.
be certain therapists that don't, depending on that, but I know
Mhm.
me and Kate are pretty heavy into kids, mostly on our caseloads, and there's some other ones that kind of more specialize in younger too. So maybe it was just a weird question, but I would
I
tell all
think
back
she was
because
pulling our legs. So, okay,
I
thanks.
was gonna say
yeah.
we definitely take all ages.
Yeah. And I would say, like, if you follow up with her, whatever, just maybe it was like one thing where, Hannah or Cameron, our admin here, were like, hey, like, they're on a wait list right now. Like our child therapists are full. And then they took it as, well, they're not going to see anybody,
Right,
'cause
right. Okay.
unfortunately,
Thank
that
you.
attitude comes out. Yeah, you're welcome.
Lori, I'm not familiar with that. I've never had parents misrepeat information to me. That's brand new.
No, that doesn't happen very often, does it?
Hardly ever.
Or make excuses.
No, never. I was gonna say I saw Kate and Emily Iman, and I'm trying to think of who else was out there this summer, Kate, when my son and I were out for a walk one morning, and
Oh, Hannah.
working on the front windows and everything. And I was in Cohen the other day. It looks absolutely terrific in there. You guys have got so much going, and I'm glad. I know Restorative Solutions has a great building, so our facilities in Jersey County are next level and well staffed. But the fact that we have great staff, there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many days in the week. And when the demand outpaces what the capacity is, I mean, you only have so many therapists. I mean, you have a limited bandwidth when you have, such a demand. And I'm glad for that. But at the same time, I think this is such an important topic because we're able to partner on this because we can't just handle it at school and you can't just handle it in the community. We've got to work together on it, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Nice shirt, by the way, Kate.
Thanks. Steve's waiting for his. I like to wear it in
I
front
already
of
have
him.
mine.
Oh,
I
you
have
do?
mine,
You do
yeah.
already have your, okay, I thought I
Oh,
got you.
okay. Sorry.
That's-
I was
No, that's
mode
okay.
there. Just trying to show it
That's
off.
all right. No, that's okay. I appreciate that. Questions or thoughts for Steve and Kate, ladies and gentlemen, for our membership?
Hey guys, I don't really have anything to say other than just, great job. I saw you guys were speaking today, and so I was really, I couldn't wait. I wanted to see, what all information you had to share. And I think you guys really nailed it about sort of the differences in terms of, in school versus private practice. And it's kind of like we're dealing with, strengths and weaknesses on both sides, right? And so in our ability to actually make a difference and in our, how effective we can be. And so, I just wanted to say thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
And Nate, one of our co-founders, formerly of the school district and currently at Restorative Solutions. And again, another person uniquely situated to be able to see, the both sides of this. I've only ever worked in schools. I've never gone the private practice route. So I lack that perspective, but I'm happy to have you all in the community, and it's terrific that we are able to provide those referrals because, again, selfishly, it makes our community that our children are growing up in a better place, and I want to see that. I want to go to Harvest Fest and see kids getting along and adults doing what they're not acting like fools. So it is so important to have that in the community. Do you see a lot more students, a lot more adults, or a mix of both? Do you feel like?
I'm more of a mixture of younger ones, but I have gotten into the adult world a little bit as I've been getting more established in the community and whatnot.
And I would say mine's pretty split. Like I see young kiddos, and then I also I kind of took on the couples counseling role here. We have another practitioner that does that here, but then I thought, why not try it? So I've been learning as I go, and it's been good. Like I think that, again, I started part-time in Cohen because somebody suggested it. And it was good because I just kind of, I was in school counseling for 9 years. So I was like, Steve was like, sharpen up your skills. And I was like, that's a really good perspective to have. So once I got back in, I was like, okay, I'll work with adults because that's initially what I wanted to do. But then school was kind of where I fit. But yeah, we see, gosh, kids of all ages, like, and we see some school kids, which is kind of fun because I do miss that aspect. But yeah, and I will say too, like just the Calhoun and Carrollton population too, is just really evident that they need support. So that's kind of, again, we can't do it all, but it's kind of hard to see that there's a need there, and it's hard, there's only 24 hours in a day. So.
And Kevin, if you want to dip your toes in the private practice world, we have a huge wait list, and Koen would be happy to have you part-time too.
Well, thank you, Steve. I don't know. That's a lot of counseling in one day.
This is what he does, Kevin. He just baits people in.
But see, then they like it so much, Kate, they stay.
I know. I never thought I would leave school full time, but I have 3 kids of my own. And so it was kind of nice that I had that flexibility. So I work 4 days a week and I set my own hours, and then I'm off on Fridays.
Nice.
Which is great because we still have a 3-year-old, so he's not in school yet. So it's nice to have like 1 day a week with just him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so it's been great.
And couples counseling, let me tell you, I think special spot in heaven, because that can't Steve's shaking his head. That
It's,
cannot be enjoyable.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. It's been good, but what I always tell people is because it's always one or the other doesn't want to come to session, and I always just like break the ice by saying like, but you showed up, you walked in the door. And that's a lot of the time with the kids too, because they're like, oh, my school social worker told me to come to counseling, but I don't want to come here. But I'm like, it just takes you to walk in. You just got to walk in. That's all you got to do.
And I love that, because when I am always privileged to see our students graduating, and many of them thank me, and I'm like, thank you. You continued to choose exactly just that. You continued to choose to walk in here. You worked on yourself. Wasn't anything I did. You had the willingness and the desire to work on some things and, take that to the next level. So that to me is I return that compliment right to them, because showing up is the first thing. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't do that, which is cool. Nate, if you're still on, are you seeing more young people or adults, or a mix of both?
I surprised myself with how much I like adults. Honestly, when I was in grad school, I was like, I don't want to work with adults, like adults are stubborn or whatever, but we've got a mix for sure. I try to personally kind of gear myself more towards you know, teens and adults, though I've got my mix of little kids. Um, it's not necessarily my natural strength, right? But my favorite to work with are going to be, teens and adults. But yeah, I think probably even more so adults really is where I'm gonna, kind of try to uh, be more naturally tended for sure.
And it's many of you know my wife Laura. She asked me the other day, of all these years, what's your favorite? And I said, honestly, I said probably older high schoolers. I said, because I see a lot more progress with them, because a lot of them are a lot more motivated. Kind of, you have that mental clock ticking of, I only have this much more time here. So a lot of my juniors and seniors have been very motivated to work through their trauma or to talk through things. And for, again, maybe not selfishly, but it's a satisfying feeling to recognize that somebody's walked away from you and is doing the work and is working on themselves, and you see the progress sometimes more so than you would see with a younger student. Not that we don't keep trying, but I would imagine working with adults, you tend to see progress more quickly too for people who are motivated. Awesome. Much appreciated. Nate, anything Steve and Kate talked about Koen, anything you want to say about restorative and what you guys are doing at the moment? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but just if you've got anything you want to share, you're more than welcome.
No, and I also want to be kind of mindful to not, you know, uh, Steve and Kate, I definitely don't want to look like I'm competing. So I'm trying to,
Oh, goodness, no.
stay back.
It's a partnership.
No, I think that they nailed it. So I don't honestly really have anything else to add about kind of that connection. It's you need the school social workers to be, kind of on the front line and putting out those fires kind of across the board. And then you also need a clinical setting where kids can get more in-depth help at times, just and frankly, I think we need more in our surrounding areas than what both of our practices are frankly able to provide. I mean, I think we're both trying to grow. I think that there's room for other practices even, so yeah. No, great job, guys.
And I never saw any bad blood between agencies. When I refer, I say I have friends that work both places and both are terrific. And I think there's enough on the waiting list certainly to go around. And I agree with you, Nate. I would love to see, another practice or practices expand too. Um, I remember Radsum Counseling in Edwardsville when my wife started down there in 2007. They were a small practice and they've greatly expanded just as the area has expanded and as the need has expanded. Steve and Kate, you alluded to Calhoun and Carrollton, some of our other areas, because where there aren't agencies, where there aren't services, it's also too growing up. I mean, I think now counseling isn't seen as the stigma that it once had. I think people now recognize, people are doing it. We're talking about mental health. I mean, people are wearing the clothes and you see it on social media and all of that. There's a ton of awareness around it, which I think is a real positive just because then people are able to access the services and work on themselves, which is amazing. One thing I wanted to share, Rita had sent this out and I can't get the flyer to upload in the chat, but I am going to send out oh, I was going to send it out to the waiting room. There's nobody in the waiting room. So I'm going to send it to the meeting room chat or the meeting room chat. We've got Jersey County Coalition Against Drugs, Life Church this Saturday in Jerseyville, the 27th. Doors open at 5:30, 6:15 start time. Having a trivia night as a fundraiser, which is terrific. Rita, if you're on, do you want to talk
Really?
about that?
I'd ask the office. Does or Amy know maybe?
Hello, I am on. Can you hear me all right?
Go ahead, Rita. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, if you guys aren't doing anything, send it out. We'd love to have you. It is a fundraiser. The funds all go back to our youth advisory committees. With that, we buy snacks. They love to be fed when we meet with them. The big goal is I've always wanted to take students to an anti-drug coalition that I go to in February. And I would love to take at least 3 to that. I feel that would be a good round number. Some of my high school kids. And if not, I want to get kind of like a leadership, like morning training seminar with them. So yeah, it just all goes back to the kids. Ron Linenfelser, I don't want to jinx it, will be head of the trivia. So you're sorry, guys, he can't be on your team because if he was on your team, you would all win. But please come out. Lots of good. We've got 13 baskets that will be raffled off, 50-50 drawing, and the winning table will receive their money back. So love to have anybody. Life Church X is just south of Jerseyville on 109. They're graciously allowing us to use their facility. It is a non-alcoholic event. Because our kiddos are going to be there. Right now, I have about 8 of them that are going to be helping us that night. And we want them to know that they can have a fun evening and don't have to have alcohol involved. So also best table decorated is going to receive a prize and we'll have soda and water available, but you can bring your own snacks. And just reach out to me if you have any questions.
Awesome, Rita. Thank you. And excited to see that it's a sober event too, kind of in keeping with your theme. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Folks, anything else for the good of the group? Looking forward to next month. Savannah Holdhouse with ROE3 is going to do some training around the McKinney-Vento laws and for our students who are unhoused, students and families, kind of what their rights are, what we have access to as a school through the McKinney-Vento Act and Title I and all of that. So that will be some great info on that. Appreciate everyone being here. I will get this meeting sent out via our email group, and looking forward to. Rita says, thank you to everyone for all you do. Thank you, Rita, and thanks to everyone. Cheers, and we'll see you next time. We'll get this sent out shortly. Thanks, everybody.